speaking. I did not do a social media post. Can you do one for me? I don't even have my phone here. It was like almost dead this morning. Oh, I'm recording all of this. Hello and welcome to our monthly motivation meetup. This is the Saturday one. It's Saturday at 8 a.m. for me, on September the 26th. And I'm really delighted to be with you this morning. We had a great meetup yesterday, really profound. We're going deep today. That's kind of been our theme for September. So everybody's just typing in the questions box where they're joining us from in the world, and I've had a chance to speak with quite a few of you this morning before we got started. So that was really nice for me too. I enjoyed saying hello to many of you. So we've got Jane from Sunny Bucks, UK. We've got Diane from Nova Scotia. We've got Donna from Glasgow, Scotland. We've got Rochelle from Spokane, Washington. We've got Fiona from Willery, which is right next door to Hull, where Tim's parents and grandparents are from in the UK. We've got Suzanne from Berwyn, Pennsylvania, which is close to Philadelphia. And Cole's here from Los Angeles. She's got a bad cold. We were supposed to do an interview this week, but we're going to be rescheduling that when she feels better. Stephanie's here from Joshua Tree, California, and we've got other people joining us as we go along here, and I'm sure they will let us know where they're from as well. We've got Becky from Shepton Mallet in the UK. I'm probably butchering all these names and showing how bad I am.
Jane Allen is in Buckinghamshire.
Yes. See, Tim should really be doing this part of the meetup because he is much, he's lived in much more places in the world and he's much more traveled than I am. I show how small my world is when I do this part of the meetup. It's really embarrassing. I look very. Yeah, well, okay. Julie's from Whitby, Ontario, one of my former students, and can I say hello to her now? She's there. Now we've got proof. She's on the phone. Maybe that's why. Hi, Julie.
Hello.
How are you?
I am so good. I'm so glad to make one of these finally.
Yay, I'm so glad to have you here. And I miss you. I've been hearing from a lot of my former students recently. They've been kind of coming out of the woodwork, so it's nice to.
I miss you very much as well.
Yeah, it was so nice, those classes. That they're very cozy. Maybe it's the time of year too, right? Remember, it was very cozy and
yes.
In our candlelit rooms. They're very small rooms, and we'd meet in the evenings, late in the evenings, and do our yoga and yeah. Anything new to report? How are your boys?
6 and 9, if you can believe it. They're huge. All is good. It's been crazy, but all is good now. So
that's good. Okay, well, I'm glad you're here, and we'll have to catch up some other time.
Yes, I would love to do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so it's great to have all of you here. I'm really excited to have you, and I'm excited for our next hour. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Let's get you all speaking a little more so we can hear your lovely voices. What's the best thing that happened to you in September? Raise your hand so we can hear from you, or you can type in the questions box. What's the best thing that happened to you in September? So reflect back on your month and let us know. Raise your hand. I'll unmute you so you can let everybody else know, or you can type that in the questions box. Okay, so while we're waiting for people to do that, I will just say that I'm going to give you lots of information over the next hour, and I will answer all your questions. I stay to the end until I've answered all your questions, so don't worry about that. I'm getting lots coming down the pipe. Julie said she returned to yoga classes. Fiona got a surprise gift from her yoga buddy, and her physio is making her stronger. That's amazing. Hannah said outside of yoga, she got to end the end of her book yesterday. That's exciting. So Hannah's writing a book, so that's very exciting. Diane said her interview with me on Just Like Me. That was very fun. I really enjoyed that. Jane says she feels like she finally met herself. Jane's been going through some really exciting transitions. And if you read her post on the membership site, they're very interesting and informative. They're very good posts. You need to be reading her posts. Okay, they're coming in fast and furious now. I'm loving this. Okay, let's see. What else have we got here? Stephanie says she moved to open herself to the next chapter in her life. That's exciting. I feel like there's been a lot of personal growth happening, and I know I've been feeling it kind of in terms of growing pains, so maybe it doesn't feel that great, but it's been one of those growth months for sure. Suzanne says, one of your membership minutes, you mentioned how important it is to stay with a yoga practice and not rush on to another practice and go deeper. And this really resonated with her. So she says, thank you for that. And I'm glad that having that permission allowed you to stay with that, Suzanne. Hannah did a day of silence, and she's decided to repeat that weekly. I'm excited that a lot of you are enjoying that practice. I know it really feeds me, and it's been really interesting and exciting to listen to all of you speak about that as you are going through that process of discovering a day of silence and taking them for yourselves. So keep letting me know about that. Becky said, meeting with friends for an afternoon of yoga and a gorgeous meal in a beautiful cottage by a lake with a very friendly and curious ducks. That sounds like a very fun day. Cole's been meditating and journaling almost every single day, and she's been getting clarity and peace and direction. That sounds amazing. Donna says her renovations are ongoing, and she no longer has drafty rooms as she has new windows. And she did a yoga class in her new space and under her loft bed. Wow, your new space sounds really great, Donna. That sounds really fun. Rochelle planted spring bulbs for fall, and she got in touch with her purpose and practiced yoga every day so far. That's amazing. And Cole said she meditates every day, but she didn't journal every day. So yeah, that can open things up to a whole new level. Okay, so that's great. It's really great to hear from you guys about what's going well. So as we move into our plan for today, let me know next what is the most challenging thing about staying motivated about your practice. So go ahead and type in what the biggest challenge you're facing right now, and I'll see how I can address that and tie that in. You can also raise your hand, and I'd love to hear from you about any challenges you're facing. Even if it's not something I can address now, if it's a theme that I see coming up again and again, is something that we can definitely address in the membership minutes or also in the weekly challenge. So it's very useful for us to know as a community what challenges you're facing in your yoga practice, what challenges you're facing in staying motivated in your practice. So go ahead and either type that in or raise your hand and let me know, and we'll see how we can help you with that. And if you have social media open, go ahead and take a picture of yourself on a selfie or some way being involved in this webinar, and you can go ahead and post it with the hashtag Namaste Yoga and the hashtag Membership Motivation. You can post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. My Instagram is at Dr. Melissa West. My Pinterest is at Dr. Melissa. My Twitter is at Dr. Melissa. My Facebook is /Your Namaste Yoga, so you can go ahead and tag me as well. And you're going to want to make sure you have either your yoga journal with you or a pen and paper, because we're going to actually be writing things down in your yoga journal, or if you don't have a yoga journal yet, you can write it down in pen and paper. We're going to be doing a lot of writing today. Okay, so I see some of the challenges coming in, which is great. They can help to bring clarity as we're moving forward. So Donna says she is experiencing exhaustion, and she's trying to detach from digital distractions and working on that. So Tim, can you take down these challenges? Can you copy and paste them so I have a record of them as well? You can actually just copy and paste.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think that's a common one. And at this time of year, it's very normal to be more tired. And the digital distractions, I think, are just going to be an ongoing thing. I was even just thinking about how, it seems like every day there's another outlet for social media that it feels like we need to be plugged into. So as our world just seems to keep speeding up, there's more and more that we feel like we need to be involved in and more distractions. So yeah, that is definitely a challenge, and one where we need to continue to discipline our energy. So I also think that with this focused living series, as we bring our awareness to these things, they're going to seem heightened for a while too, until we find ways of managing them, making different choices in our life too. So thanks for bringing that up. Fiona says she's noticing that she's starting to fidget towards the end of the restorative 171 class, so she thinks she needs to change it up. She's doing this class every day for nearly 5 to 6 months now. The waning to the dark moon one, that's my favorite one on the membership site. There's lots of restorative ones. Rochelle says because she has small children and a husband who travels, she has to get up at 5 a.m. to practice. And yeah, that's challenging because you have to really make sure you get to bed early to make that appointment, isn't it? I can relate to that one too. Hannah says, I've always found a recognition of other people's energies, but I'm feeling a need to accept and embrace our differences, even if their energies are draining. And how can I address that and find moderation in my life? That one is a challenging one for sure. So I'm going to get Tim to copy that one down, and let's reflect on that one. Julie said timing is most difficult with young kids and a busy work schedule. That is definitely a challenging one for sure. And Cole says the biggest challenge is entirely the false belief that the only way to bring about much needed changes is to hammer away and make things happen, even though it is proven every single time that letting go and relaxing and breathing seems to allow these changes to happen. Yeah, it's that balance between letting things happen and making things happen. For sure. Nikki says she used to get up at 6 or 6:30 to do her yoga before going to work, and she's finding that her body needs more sleep, so she's waking up later, too late to do full practice. And sometimes she doesn't have time in the evening to do a longer practice. Yeah, it's that and it's also the shift. So that's the shift in the seasons as well right now, where we need more sleep. So finding that balance between more sleep and still getting your practice in. So maybe taking some time to reflect on that and finding time in your schedule to, I think really it's about scheduling your practice in, and also that episode on sleep and play, that those things are just as important. So scheduling your sleep in and scheduling your practice in. So Becky's saying the biggest challenge is slotting time for a practice while packing up our house to. So it looks like we're going to have to do some more blog posts on finding time for your practice, huh, Tim? Yeah. Finding time for a practice while packing up our house to move. And maybe some more posts on rest in the fall season. So this is really helpful. Thank you for posting these, because then I can take some time and reflect on these as well. And talk about, because the change of the season is a big one, and I'm really seeing that, is that I think we expect to have that same energy that we have in the summer in the fall, and that's just not going to happen. So Rebecca's saying, I feel she's mainly doing the restorative practices. So this is good. I'm liking seeing this doing the restorative practice this time of year, because your body's telling you need to rest, right? We're going into that hibernation time of year. And Becky's saying she feels she needs to do a day of silence, but she's been unable to find that day. Yeah, so that's okay. This is good. I'm liking this. I think I'm going to take these questions and I'm going to take some time. Maybe I should do some blog posts just for the members, Tim. What do you think of that idea?
Or just not the members of Meetup.
I know, but the members are special to me.
They are.
Jane says she always practices in the evening after her granddaughter's in bed. Diane says she gets up at 4:30 a.m., but her morning practice and her sleep has been disturbed, waking in the middle of the night, and she's having a hard time getting back to sleep, so she's feeling tired through the day. Yeah, 4:30 is pretty early. We need to talk about circadian rhythms and sleep cycles and what sleep you need at what time of year and stuff like that. I'm really glad you guys are writing this down. This is really helping me to see what you need. Becky wants to know, is there information on the membership site as to what foods we can eat to add extra nourishment to help with the fall? So I think there might be, but can I recommend right now that you guys go back and read, if you haven't already, one of our book club books, which was The Way of the Happy Woman. So you can go and look in the book club section. It's called The Way of the Happy Woman, and she goes through each of the seasons. And in that, she talks about the cycles of the seasons and the needs. And then there's also stuff on food in there as well. And I think you can get that book on Amazon or on your Kindle or whatever electronic device you have for under $10. It's one of the best books I've ever read, and I think you'll find that really helpful. Jane's saying it's an awesome book. It's like one of the best books I've ever read. Okay, so Ulrika's saying that she's got a week coming up in the challenge that's all about finding time for practice. So sounds like we're on track for that, and definitely Ulrika and I can talk more about this and building some of these themes into the weekly challenge as well. So that could be something that Ulrika and I can meet to talk about as well. And I'm thinking too, I'm up in a few weeks on the for Navratri, so I can try and, I know, that's going to be working with deities, working with the goddesses. So I'm thinking also, like, when you're saying, it's really hard to find time and it's really hard to find that time for the day of silence and stuff, you can pull in and you can ask for help from Saraswati, from Lakshmi. If it feels like you're lacking anything in your life, like I don't have enough time, that's that lack, thinking you need more abundance, then you can ask Lakshmi for that. And so that could be something that we could, if it feels like we're having a lack of time in our life, that's a poverty thinking around time. So we can really call on Lakshmi during Navratri to help us to have an abundance of time for things like our yoga practice, for a day of silence, for our spiritual practice. So that really helped me to think about that for Navratri too. So thank you for that. I will be sure to build that into our practice during those weeks of that weekly challenge as well. Thank you so much for this. That really helps me to build our practices, to help you more as a community as we move forward. And Tim's copied all those down so I can really address them moving forward. Thank you very much. Helps me to be a better teacher for you. Okay, before we get started, I just want to welcome in our new members for September. I want to welcome Christina and Helen and Krista, Deanne and Nick, Bree and Amy. I know a lot of us have really enjoyed Nick Gerard's posts, especially. She's jumped in with 2 feet. A lot of you have seen her on the weekly challenge, and we've really enjoyed having her as a very active member coming in. So here's what we're going to cover today. We are going to talk about what is your why, because when a lot of you say it's really challenging to come to the mat, when you have a really strong intention, that really helps to motivate you to come to your mat. We're going to talk about the importance of focusing on progress instead of perfection. And then we're going to also talk about establishing allies. So those are the 3 things that we're going to do. We're going to continue to do this in a way that's really interactive like we have been. I so appreciate the way you post such valuable feedback in the questions box. It really helps me to help you more. So continue to do that. That helps me a lot. When you raise your hand and you give your valuable input, that helps me, that helps everybody. That just makes this whole thing so much more interactive and so much more relatable for everybody. And so much more rich. So that's the plan. And we're going to do as much as we can in this next hour. And I will answer all your questions. So don't worry about that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is our why. And you have noticed, I know you are all very active members, that over the last couple of weeks, we have been going over Sankalp as a way to focus your yoga practice. Sankalp is a concept or idea that you form in your heart. It's a desire that you intentionally bring into fruition in your life. And it can form an intention not just for your yoga practice, but for your life. So this week, Ulrika has been asking some really important questions in the weekly challenge. She's been asking you to think about, why do you practice yoga? And what is important to you about living your yoga? And she's asked us to write these things down in our yoga journal, and then to keep them with us and repeat them to ourselves before we practice our yoga. And I really believe that knowing our intention, or our sankalp, can go a long way in helping to motivate you to get to your mat each day, rather than falling to the mercy and the distractions of other people's demands, or the kind of nonsense that can fill my day, that can really fill the day. So without our why, we can find ourselves conforming to the expectations of others, doing things that we've always done without a sense of passion for our lives. And it's easy to get distracted by doing what other people tell us to do. And that can not just be like our work stuff, but it can be, our children, our pets. We end up saying yes to please, and then we have no time for the things that really matter to us, like our yoga practice. And then before we know it, days can become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, years become decades, and before we realize it, it's sort of a lifetime that's passed us by, where we've spent our life pleasing others rather than pleasing ourselves. So having a clear why allows us to ask ourselves, am I on the right path? And where is my journey leading me? And is this where I desire to go? And having a clear why lets us make an important shift. And this shift is going to be from our days being an object of resentment to our days being something that can truly be a thing of beauty. And yesterday was really cool because Ivy had this kind of light bulb moment where she felt like that her husband asked her, how was your day? And she was like, oh, I got nothing done. And then when we went through the questions that we're going to go through now, she realized, actually, I had this amazing day. I did so many things that were really important to me, but it was just like they weren't things that she would have normally labeled as productive. So actually her day was a real thing of beauty. And Julie's talking about it here too. She says it's this all or nothing thinking, looking for the perfect time, looking for the perfect length of yoga. All these kind of things, they kind of get in our way, rather than if we're really connected to our intention and the why behind it, this can kind of shift away from this kind of perfectionist thinking. And we're going to get into that perfectionist thinking next. So let's connect to the beauty. Let's connect to the aspiration of our practice, the heart-centered reason why we're doing this. And I need you to get out your yoga journals and a writing tool now, something to write with. And you're going to write down these questions. And then you're going to write the answers. And I don't want you to really think too hard. I want you to write the question and write whatever comes to your mind first. So it's not like you're going to spend a lot of time. We're going to do the questions quickly and then we're going to move on. So no thinking too hard. You're just going to write the question, write whatever comes to your mind first. This is kind of stream of consciousness. No perfectionism here. That's what I'm saying. Okay? So the first question that you're going to write down in your journal is, what do I care about? What do I care about? And then write down whatever comes to your mind first. And then we're going to move on. We're going to move quickly. So this is just going to be quick and easy, so you don't have a lot of time to think about it. We just want to see what kind of themes come up here. What makes me come alive? Write that down. What makes me come alive? What makes me come alive? And write that down, your answer. And then the next question, what allows me to feel fulfilled? What allows me to feel fulfilled? And then the next question is, and you might, if it's first thing in the day for you, you might have to change this to yesterday. What did I do today that was meaningful to me? What did I do today that was meaningful to me? So you might have to change that to yesterday if you're first thing today. And then the next one is, what are my innate strengths? What are my innate strengths? And the next one, where do I add the greatest value? Where do I add the greatest value? The next one, how do I want to show up each day? How do I want to show up each day? Okay, next one. We've got a few more. What do I want to contribute? What do I want to contribute? And then, what will cause me to keep going forward when I feel distracted? What will cause me to keep going forward when I feel distracted? Just a couple of more. How will I measure my life? How will I measure my life? And then the last one. How do I want my legacy to be? How do I want my legacy to be? Okay, so we went through those quickly because I want you to I want you to just kind of go stream of conscious and see what comes up. And as you went through those questions, I'm curious if anything came up that kind of surprised you, that stood out. So go ahead and let us know if anything stood out, anything surprised you about that process. And maybe you can raise your hand, let us know. You can speak about that, or you can write it down in the questions box. I think it's a useful exercise. Did it yesterday with the group, and my answers were completely different. And also, Maria posted on the forum about doing it yesterday as well. So Hannah said for her, a lot of it was about making a difference with other people. So that's really cool when you look back, when you can look through and see that there's a connection between all of them. That's useful too. Rochelle said her desire to stay connected and in the present moment was a theme that stood out in this exercise. That's great. That was kind of, this is the next step. You guys are like the advanced class. You're able to see the next step. If you can see a theme and pull that out, that's amazing. It might be something that kind of stands out and surprises you too. So let me know if that's happening as well. What else is coming up? Does anybody want to speak about this experience? That's something that, just go ahead and raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can speak about this too. Okay. Jane says hers was all about love and family. So these are really good. What's coming up is really good because they're going to be really helpful for putting together your sun call. Cole said it was strange that she had no answer about adding value. That's okay if there's no answers. Sometimes I think these, because they come really quickly too, sometimes some questions might be more like when you do Phoenix Rising class, that some questions will just kind of go over you, and some will resonate and there'll be an answer that lands. So that, I think that's okay. There are probably answers in other areas right now that you'll be able to draw from more. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. And also it's something that you can return to and do another time. I bet it would come up. And I bet you there's answers in other areas that you could pull from that would show where you add value. So she's feeling like she has something stuck, especially since she's a massage therapist and training to deepen her work and experience with cancer patients. Could be there's something stuck, but you're also doing stuff that adds value as well. Yeah, Fiona said the last question made her realize that not only does she want to help people while she's alive, but she also wants a legacy. She's just not sure what form they'll take yet. That legacy question is a good one to reflect on, like how you want to be remembered when you're gone. It's a good one to start to form an intention of how you want to live your days when you're alive, because if you can do that, it will help to create that legacy for you. Yes. Donna says, I think we usually measure ourselves in the way Western culture wants us to. And this made me think about my own way instead. My theme was about fairness and ethics. And I think this points to what Ivy was talking about yesterday. Like, she was measuring her day in terms of productivity. Like, I don't know what she really had in mind. Maybe her day was supposed to be about getting the house cleaned or something like that. But she didn't do any of that. And instead, she had this kind of more introspective day. And it was actually much more fulfilling. And so when we take at this time, this is really what a Sankalp is about, taking this time to step back and find out what really matters to us internally, and then letting that be our compass in the world. It's really powerful. And I feel like as each year goes by, it takes more and more energy to do that, to pull away from that. And depending on where you live too, like depending on what kind of city you live in and stuff, that it can take more energy to pull away from that pull than in some other cities, I think. Cole says every other answer was about love, service, time to be with loved ones. So yeah, so the answers were there in other ones. As Julie said, she was surprised by the frequency with which concepts like completion came up. Quite different from other words like connection and intuition. So that's interesting. It sounds like completion is important to you, but yeah, you might want to, that could be interesting to tune into, like what ones sort of resonate with you more. Like it sounds, I don't know, I'm just kind of getting an intuitive hit on that completion might be more that left brain kind of thing, and that the connection and intuition is more right brain. Like completion feels like something you have to do. The completion sounds more like the perfectionist side coming up. So I don't know. That's interesting. Suzanne says nurture, love, and connect. And Becky said it's a great list of questions. And I think it is a good list of questions to go through to reflect and build a Sankalp. Diane said sending love, positive thoughts, smiles, and gratefulness out into the world. And Nikki says the words that kept coming up for her were joy, health, and creativity. Yeah, Hannah said she realized when she wasn't going to have children that she still wanted to have an influence somewhere, even if it wasn't going to be right on her doorstep. She wanted, it can be somewhere in the world. So that's really cool. Stephanie said the theme of joy in accomplishing things that contribute to the greater good. I love how joy was in there. That's cool. That's cool how you've reframed that, Julie. She says, not ultimate completion, but a feeling of having given enough attention to something instead of bouncing from one thing to another. That's cool. Yeah, Fiona, I'm going to post these questions with the recording for sure. So thank you for asking for that. Okay, so thank you for posting your responses and what stood out to you about your responses to these questions. This can be something that I think you come back to, because I did it with the group yesterday and I did it today, and my answers were different because you're different every day. But I think when I look through them each time, the kind of general theme and feeling tone of them is similar in both of them, and is going to help me get to my Songkalp in both of them in a way that I wasn't getting it to it before. Like before, what I was kind of coming up with when I was going through Ulrika's weekly challenge. Nothing wrong with Ulrika's weekly challenge, but it was really too vague in general. Wasn't going to be enough of a guidepost for me. But this is going to allow me to get to it in a more detailed way that's going to be more of a guidepost. When you begin to formulate your Songkalp now, it should be in the present tense, it should be affirmative, and it often starts with the words I am. So, for example, what I noticed in mine, and a lot of you have you've really gotten to the theme of yours, so you could come up with something that is working for you, and you could kind of put a rough form one together right now. So for example, one of the things that I noticed that was coming up a lot in mine yesterday was a lot of creativity. So one thing I kept writing down yesterday was art, 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 and I was like, okay, well, that really has to do with creativity. And then one thing that I was writing down a lot today was about relationships and making a difference in other people's lives. So maybe mine would be something like, I am creatively connecting with and making a difference in people's lives. That would be a good Songkalp, actually. So I'm going to write that down, actually. What was that again? I am creatively connecting and making a difference in other people's lives. Hannah, I feel like you and I are like on the same wavelengths lately. I was like reading your challenge. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that. And then I was reading where you are with, I know, I was reading your Songkalp too. I'm like, honestly, I'm not stealing it. I was like, I'm just like where I am too. Okay. And when we get to the progress, not perfection, I'm going to tell you why this is a better one than where I was at the beginning of the year too. Okay, so now you've got something written down that, and it doesn't have to be perfect for now, and it can change. It doesn't have to be forever, and you can continue to work on it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring energy to it and kind of seal it with a mudra. So we're going to do the Kubera mudra, and the way it works is you're going to join the tips of your thumb, first finger, and your second finger, and then you're going to bring your ring finger and your baby finger into the palms of your hands. So that's the Kubera mudra. And then if you're sitting, you can rest this on your lap, palms face up. And you're going to sit with your ears over your shoulders, and you're going to lengthen up through your spine and your shoulders over your hips. Or if you're standing, you can stand and maybe rest that on your stand-up desk. You can sit down in front of your stand-up desk too. Okay, and then close your eyes, and we're going to just sit with this for a few moments and focus on your Songkalp, your rough Songkalp, or maybe it feels really good and this is what you're going to be with for a while. And you're going to imagine that this mudra is a magnet helping you to manifest your desires. So this mudra will sharpen your inner vision. It will allow you to see more clearly on your path in life. And it creates more abundance, especially when it relates to the well-being of all living beings. Let your breath be long and slow and deep. Okay, and then slowly allow your breath to deepen. And you can release that mudra. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. And then you can let us know how that experience was for you. You can go ahead and either raise your hand and you can speak and I can unmute you and you can let us know how that was for you. You can speak to the whole group, or you can go ahead and type that in the questions box, how you found that mudra. And then we're going to move on to the next section. Okay, so Julie said it really helped her to cement her intention and be sure that she had the one that she needed. I think it's really good for that. We were commenting yesterday how when you take those two little fingers in, that's very grounding. Yeah, so Donna said too that she feels centered and grounded. I think it's the bringing those two little fingers in that really grounds that. So I found that too. Yeah. Julie says she's finding that funny because her intention is, I have space to give my completed attention. Well, completed attention is very grounded, so nice sun call. You could post your intentions too if you'd like to ground them by sharing them as well. Okay, Hannah says, yeah, you can absolutely have two intentions. I think you might have ones for different areas of your life too. Like yesterday, Tracy was speaking about, was talking about like every time you practice yoga, you have an intention for your yoga practice, right? And then you might have an intention for your spiritual life. And then yesterday Tracy was speaking about our work, and I said, what if your work was guided by a more spiritual intention? So I think you can have different levels of intention too. So absolutely, you could have ones for different in your life. So Hannah's saying she feels a need for one in long-term life intention and one for health and balance through her koshas. I think it's good. When you work with coaches, they work with different areas of your life. So why wouldn't you have different intentions for different areas of your life? Donna says hers is, I am fair and kind with myself and others. Ooh, I like that. You included yourself and others. Nikki says that was helpful because I see the focus is on health. The joy and creativity come from being healthy first. That sounds really good because it's very positively focused, and it doesn't sound like there's any punishment in that sankalp. And Cole says she likes Hannah's point because she has an intention as a woman and one for work and service. Diane found that the mudra brought her energy. She's feeling less tired, and it helped us set a ground for her intention. This is a very powerful mudra. For those of you who are ill or recovering from surgery, you may remember we haven't done this mudra for a while, but that you could use this mudra on any part of your body that needs healing. So especially a part that's just had surgery, you would put it where the surgery was. That's from Gertrude Hershey's book mentions that. Rochelle found it helped her clarify her intention. I am fully present for myself out of love for myself and others. Beautiful. Yeah, Fiona saying this is making me think I can cement my intention with my recovery with this mudra. Yeah, so this mudra can help you come to your intention too. And Jane said this is great to bring sharp focus to intentions. So yeah, this is a powerful mudra for sure. Okay, we need to move on if we're going to finish our there's 5 minutes left. I'm going to power through. Okay, so the next point is important when we're thinking about intentions, and this is the point about progress rather than perfection. In the first class of Ulrika's weekly challenge this week, it was on who is a yogi. And at the beginning of the class, I said, how can we recognize and uncover the qualities that already exist in ourselves without becoming attached to them or using them as a way to judge ourselves or others? So I want to highlight two things as we move forward with Sankalp here, or your why. The important thing to remember is that your Sankalp already exists in you. It's not something you have to go out and make happen. Like Cole said earlier, it's a matter of letting go into it. It's not something you have to make happen. You're simply uncovering something that already exists inside of you. So the fact that you were able to make this intention means that it's already you. You already recognize that it's you. So, and then the other thing is that yoga is a practice, not a perfect. So this is something that Julie brought up too. It's that perfectionism that gets in the way, that it's like, I can't do it this way, so I might as well not do it. So there's no final destination in yoga. Like people talk a lot about catching up in yoga, and there's no catching up. There's no late. Or, oh, I wish I would have started yoga earlier in my life. There's none of that. So let's keep in mind that you're just uncovering something that already exists, and everything's happening in perfect time. So we can use the analogy often gets used of cleaning a window. So, it may just be that your window's gotten a little dirtier and you just, might need a little more cleaning solution. That's all. So, and that's it. And you know how easy it is to clean a window. You might just need a power washer. So remember that we're human beings. Nikki says she cleaned her car windows today. Yeah, see? Didn't take long. It's easy. Now you can see clearly, right? You can see clearly through the windows. So we're human beings, we're fallible. If we're expecting perfection from ourselves, we're going to spend a great deal of time being disappointed in ourselves. So this is not the practice of ahimsa, and that's a really important thing in yoga. When you place the expectation of perfection on yourselves, you're always going to be disappointed in yourself, you're always going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to experience many failures. And then you're going to be more likely to give up. Perfectionism also creates an all or nothing approach, which means you're going to end up doing nothing. So don't take yourself too seriously. Don't try to do everything exactly right. Go easy on yourself. Try not to get too self-critical, and try your best. Slow and steady progress, and that's amazing. So, for example, this is where I feel like these questions. What's that? Did you lose me?
Oh, there you're back.
Okay.
Say that again.
Slow and steady progress is going to really help you. So this year, at the beginning of the year, I decided to set a sankalp for, I was going to do kind of a 3-year sankalp where I had ahimsa in thought, then ahimsa in action, and ahimsa in word. And it didn't go so well because really as soon as I set that intention of ahimsa in thought, what ended up happening was I became aware of how violent my thoughts really were, like how negative my thoughts really were. And then it was like, perfectionism creeped in, and it just created this all or nothing approach. It was like, oh God, I can't do this. It was awful. So, I think ultimately it was just, although it was an aspiration practice, I think it really wasn't a great sankalp. So, for example, a past year's sankalp was with an open heart I receive with joy and gratitude. That was one that I could relate to a little more. It was something I could be a little more human with. Yeah, the ahimsa and thought one was way too challenging for me. So, yeah, it was that evil second arrow. Yeah, it was the evil second arrow. But yeah, like also I think that challenge, that sankalp, it was bound to failure because the nature of thought is that you're going to have thoughts and you can't take them personally, right? Like it was just a bad sankalp. But I would love to hear from you now about your experience of setting intentions, because I know some of you have had really good experiences with intentions, about ones where you've had progress and maybe ones where perfectionism have gotten in the way. So that was one where perfectionism really got in the way, but I think it was the problem with that really not being a great sankalp. So do you have any examples of sankalps that you've had where you've had progress? That one where I had with an open heart, I receive with joy and gratitude. Every time somebody would give me something, whether it was a compliment or a gift, that whole year when I had that sankalp, I would have a lot of joy in my heart, and I practiced receiving really well. It was a great sankalp. I loved that one. Anybody else have some sankalps that they want to share their positive experiences with? Maybe raise your hand or type in the questions box. Seems like you need to wrap this up. Okay. Okay. Hannah says, so many of my sankalps have been about my health, moving me forward in self-care, and I'm now feeling a need to continue that, but draw on the fact I'm believing and what a difference I can make through my life. And I've really witnessed Hannah's sankalp is really working well for her with that. Becky says, my best sankalp has been, I bring loving kindness to myself from within. And she says, that changed my negative self-image and has helped me with depression. See, that's a really good sankalp because it allows you to be loving and kind to yourself in a way. Yeah, there's no perfectionism there. It's a beautiful one. Okay, thank you for those. Okay, I want to finish up. We're going to go through the third thing here. Yeah, And Julie says her sankalps about space have really helped her to cultivate loving kindness. So it's beautiful. They're a beautiful practice, the sankalps, and they really help you find your why, and they really help you get to your yoga mat, and they really guide your life. They help you to live your yoga. So the third thing I want to cover is about finding allies. We've been talking a lot in the Focus Living series, and we'll continue to talk a lot about the importance of saying no rather than saying yes to everything that comes up. And one of the things about this approach that I've been finding is that it can make everything in our life seem like an obstacle and everybody in our life seem like adversaries. So this is kind of the drawback that I've been noticing to this approach. So one thing that I noticed, earlier this week, Tim said, on Friday night, I want to have date night. And before he could even say what he wanted to do, I said no. And he's like, I haven't even told you what I want to do yet. And I'm like, well, date night usually involves like going out late, and then I'm tired and it takes me all week to recover. And so I think it's really important to create allies instead of adversaries. So instead of seeing everything in our life as an obstacle and everybody in our life as an adversary, it's really important that we involve them in our why. And see, what we want to do is ask others to support us and participate in our sankalp. So think about how you can enlist other people in your life to become an ally in your sankalp. How can others support and participate in your sankalp? So I would challenge you to sit down with your loved ones and tell them what you truly desire in life and why. So when was the last time that you brainstormed with a friend or a coworker or your yoga buddy or a family member about all the ways that you could work together so that your desires can be met? And are you engaging with others so that they can be supportive in being helpful with your why? And I would challenge you to do this. So I do this with my yoga buddy, Shannon, and you guys can do this with your yoga buddies. I check in with her about my yoga practice. I do this with Tim with various things about my health. We check in all the time about Namaste Yoga. We check in about the membership community all the time. We're checking in about how we raise our daughter. Check in just about general things about the household, about our relationships, about our friendships, about our relationships with each other. So we're quite introspective with each other that way. I'm just starting to get braver even with Tim just to check in about my higher spiritual aspirational practices. I always kind of do it a little bit sheepishly, but he's getting more used to it. And you'd be surprised how willing people are to show up for you in your life for these things. I have an art buddy, BJ, and we check in with each other daily about our art practices, so that's fun too. So I would encourage you to do that. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is an example from our membership site with the Days of Silence. So I know a lot of you even spoke about how it's challenging to find time to practice yoga and with family and work and everything, but have you actually talked to your family about this? Have you enlisted their support with this? Because this is a post that Jane posted, and she said the essence of this post is that she's really found it quite amazing how supportive her family was. So I'm going to read it to you. She said, I've been taking a day of silence on Sunday for about 6 weeks now, and the result for me has been great. It was easier than I thought to organize. I live in a fairly smallish space with my husband, my daughter, and my granddaughter, who's 5 years old, and I presume both they and I would find it difficult. Everyone, including my granddaughter, was very respectful of my silence, and they agreed to have no screen time on that day initially, not to disturb me. Although the rest of the family are still speaking, they are reporting a very positive result from just having no screen or media day. So I think what I really get from this is that who are you checking in with? And who would you like to set an intention to check in with? Who can be your allies? So maybe go ahead and write down in your journal right now some people that you could check in with. And maybe what was your biggest challenge that you posted at the beginning of the webinar? And who could you check in with to make an ally when you go out of this call today? Okay, so I am going to wrap up now. I just want to check in and see if there are any questions or any other comments or anything else that people want to bring forward before we close out. I'm going to unmute you all to go through and do that manually. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I appreciate you all being here.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I will see you in the membership community this month, and I look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you for making the time to be here. Have a great rest of your day and evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.